Welcome to ADCO Aviation. On the 39th video, we discussed our updates to the antenna and started thinking about wiring. So once again, I wanted to discuss something that is not in the XL plans at all, wiring. While it's true, our ultralights are as simple and basic as you can get, here you can see Leonard's prototype XL. If we only had the original VW 009 distributor and coil, you could get away with a wire coming from the battery to a single switch, then to the coil, then ground your battery and engine, and that'd be it. But I plan to add a wind generator or maybe a solar panel to be able to extend my flights. And I also have dual ignition that I need to contend with. Even with that being said, it's still going to be an easy wiring job. Since my last video, I made a few changes, so let's discuss. Firstly, I had planned to 3D print a fuse block I found online, and I did, but after printing, I just wasn't happy with it. It was a nice concept, I suppose, but when you go to remove the fuse, you have to apply a lot of stress to the spade connectors and wire clamps. So I went back to the drawing board, and I'm glad I did. This was so much simpler and lighter as well. I not only didn't use the fuse block, I used less terminal ends and way less wiring. So I modified my sketch of the wiring diagram and got to work. Just FYI, in the aviation world, they rarely solder their joints, crimping them only, due to easier breakage with all the vibration. And with the same reasoning, they don't use solid core wire either, only stranded. So I gathered some scrap stranded wire. We don't need but just a few feet anyways. More on this in a minute. I needed to order a battery. I chose to start out with what Leonard recommended and bought an Interstate SLA 1075 battery from the Amazon Aviation Department for about $30. Now I need to decide where to place the battery and make a holder for it. I'd always thought I'd place it between the rudder pedals or just in front of the control stick, as I seen Denny do on his fine little Legal Eagle. But I kept replaying Les's video where he explains his ground loop and partially blamed the ground loop on his foot getting stuck behind the rudder pedal and not being able to pull his foot out because of the battery being in the way. So he moved it to just behind the seat, where I've seen several others place it as well. So what to do? I was looking through the pictures I took from the prototype and decided I'd copy what Leonard did. I first drew out a sketch of Leonard's design from the pictures and then decided how I'd do it with that sketch in mind. I drew a pattern out of paper, traced it out on some scrap aluminum I had from the seat build. I cleaned up the sharp edges of the aluminum and bent it to shape. I secured it to the firewall, riveted the corner tabs, added a rubber pad on the bottom, and temporarily secured the front strap with a self-tapper. After going around the top bar, I'll replace this with a bolt and nylock nut. This system seems to be the best placement for the least amount of wire, and it is up off the floor too. So starting wiring at the battery, I took some 12 gauge stranded wire and crimped on the female spade connector and cut the wire about 4 inches and added another female spade adapter. I'll use this to slide on the auto type fuse, then continued up to the master switch. Using my diagram, I came off the master switch to the input side of the generator switch and over to both of the ignition switches. I'll go from each ignition switch to the respective coil. I also needed to add 3 grommets for my setup, one on each side of the dash and one at the firewall. I added the tiny tack to the left side near the throttle, running the cable along the side of the coil wires out the firewall, and on the right side of the dash, a voltmeter near the master switch, connecting it to the switch power of the generator switch. I added heat shrink to key areas along the wiring and secured the wiring to the tabs I added while building my fuselage. Last but not least, I added a grounding wire for the voltmeter, engine, and battery. Wiring complete. Next, hopefully the weather lets me pull her out and finish rigging the wings soon. I've still got to get a propeller on order. I keep thinking I'm almost there, but there's always something else I wasn't thinking about. Getting close, maybe. I hope you've enjoyed this video and hopefully found some of the info helpful for your build. And if you're on the fence about starting a Legal Eagle build, hopefully I've shown you just how easy it can be. If you like these videos, please like and subscribe to my YouTube, Odyssey, or Rumble channels. Thank you and be safe.